story of somebody that I used to know. Somebody I love very much to this day, and somebody who I will tell off with the best of them. In Boulder, we called him Ogre. Now, let me tell you about the events between himself and Lexi Delgado that led to him being accused of sexual assault and the reality of the situation. So I guess I'll just say it as it happened. Alright, so Ogre comes to me one day. That's Christopher Weaver. And he's adopted. His mom's name is Jacqueline Weaver. And I can't remember his dad's name at the moment. They're from, I believe, Jacksonville, Florida. And they're pretty shitty parents. I'm sorry about my Tourette's and my allergies. Sometimes when I do the snorting thing, it is because I have Tourette syndrome. But also, I've got allergies. I know it grosses y'all out. I got a lot of physical ailments to deal with. There's a lot of stuff that's beyond my control, and that's one of them. I have to try to control it 24 hours a day, and it's probably my toughest tick. Let me tell you about Jacqueline Weaver. Jacqueline Weaver and her husband are, well, construction worker and school administrators. So Ogre comes from a pretty decent family, though he's adopted, and he knew he was adopted, and Jacqueline Weaver very much treated him as if he was adopted. And when he turned 18, it was, later, Christopher, you're going out on the streets. They didn't know when they adopted him that he was going to wear size 16 shoes, or how expensive that was going to be. Or that children, well, they're not just perfect little robots who do whatever you want. These are actual human beings, people. That's right. These are human beings. These are little people with thoughts, feelings, and opinions of their own. Congratulations. You were an unfit parent. You couldn't have kids of your own for a reason. So Christopher Weaver never knew who his real parents were. He was basically disowned by his parents at 18, given zero chance or opportunity at a decent life. Although they did continue to try to help support him financially in some ways, especially after finding out they had a grandbaby. Let me tell you the stipulations around this. So Christopher Weaver finds out that him and Lexi Delgado are going to have a kid together. It's a boy. And he's excited, and he lets Jacqueline Weaver know, and she's excited. She's going to be a grandma. So then, the day that Christopher Weaver Jr. is born, Lexi Delgado, she's nuttier than fucking squirrel turds. I'm filthy, and I let her know that I'm filthy. And she insists on handing me this baby in such a way, this baby that has just been born, in such a way that it's either touch that baby with my filthiness and risk that baby's life, or let the baby hit the floor. That's how it was. She forced me to hold that baby. Fresh umbilical cord and everything. The infection that Christopher Weaver Jr. died of, he likely got because his umbilical cord was thrust into my jacket, into my hoodie, and it was filthy and it was gross. And I shouldn't have been there, and she shouldn't have handed me that baby, and she knew it. I told her, but she's insane. Like, literally insane. And she's got periods of time where she can hold it together and hide the fact that she is nutty as fucking nutty gets. And that's how she was able to land Ogre, or Christopher Weaver. Since Christopher Weaver Jr. died only a few days later of an infection that, well, what was Lexi Delgado's excuse? God made dirt and dirt don't hurt. She's got to develop an immunity somehow. Holy fuck, no, not like that. No. No, that baby is not ready for the fucking nastiness that I slept in. That's inhumane. That'd kill anything. If I was to have an open wound and wipe my jacket on it, there's a chance it would have killed me. So, yeah, that touching a baby without any sort of developed immune system beyond, holy shit, it's cold out here in the real world. So, they promised me that they were going to try again to make me an uncle. Mind you, I'm not related to either one of these people by blood. But they promised me that they're going to make me an uncle again. And I was like, I'm already an uncle. I'm fine with that. Maybe we should try to focus on getting you off the streets before you try having kids again. But they weren't hearing it. So Lexi got pregnant again, and they had a girl. What happened is Lexi, being that she's nuts, she was stealing their baby. They were broken up. Christopher Weaver realized how incredibly insane that she was capable of being and said, I'm done with her, but we got a kid together, so I'm going to man up and be a dad. And it's not as a matter of manning up, it's a matter of being a dad. So he got a good job at a barbecue place, right? And he's got his own place, he's on the list, and they've approved him on the list, and he can have his daughter there, and he gets this housing. And of course, this is in Longmont, and Lexi Delgado moves in and basically destroys it all, takes it over herself, kicks him out, has the cops kick him out because she's a fucking nut. And then she comes down to Pearl Street and literally is smiling and laughing and skipping happily and merrily like a fucking loon. She's got her hands all daintily like this. I mean, fuck, that hurts. She's got the whole, I'm trying to do the sweet and innocent little girl look, throwing her head to the side. Woo. And she comes up to me and she tells me that she just literally admits to me that she lied about Ogre to get Ogre in trouble. I'm like, what the fuck did you do that for? Well, here's what it was. She wanted to have sex, but he didn't want to. And then, of course, when he finishes, he has to finish where she tells him to. And apparently he missed. This is an insane thing to start a fight over, okay? I don't know how to impress upon you how completely batshit bonkers this kind of an argument is. It was Ogre's place, and he told her, no, you know what? This is my place. We're not together. Every time I kick you out, you just want to have sex with me so you can stay for another week and treat me like shit and eat all of my food. I'm taking care of our daughter, and that's what I need to focus on. When I come home, and you're basically at that point, she was basically supposed to be the babysitter while he was at work. It was his housing, not hers. And she wasn't taking care of the kids. She literally left their daughter to get just by herself for 2.5 hours, something like that. Ogre got back from work, went into the house, heard the baby crying, smelled shit, went and changed a diaper, and man, he was pissed off. He called me, he's like, dude, I need you to come over here. I'm on my break from work. I'm in Longmont. I need you to watch my daughter because I don't know where the fuck Lexi is. I brought food. Obviously, she's not going to be here to eat the food, so you can have her dinner. You can have Lexi's dinner, and fucking, it's an emergency. I got to go to work. I can't lose my job. I'm like, all right, dude, fucking, I got to get on a bus. So he had to call work. And when he called in work, I don't remember what the whole deal was, but anyway, they told him basically if it takes me a little longer to get there, he's still got a job. They're not going to fire him. They have enough people for right now. It's not dinner rush yet. He's probably got a few hours before they're even going to need him. And they're fine with him not being there. His boss even told him, all right, well, you know what? Basically, we'd just be paying you to be on the clock right now. We don't have anything for you to do. So yeah, take your time. So by the time I was able to get on a bus from Boulder to Longmont and go see him, well, cardboard, that's what Lexi Delgado went by. And she was always talking about cutting on cardboard. She's nuts, people. Completely nuts, okay? So she comes and sees Ogre, and Ogre is completely done with this shit. And so Lexi Delgado decides that she's gonna call the cops and say something about how he's neglecting their kid and how he's threatening some bullshit. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude, I don't want to be here for any of this. I really don't. I'm very uncomfortable by this. And the cops came and talked to Ogre and told him that he could kick her out of his apartment. He said, you know what, I can go somewhere else for the night, but I'm worried about my daughter. And so they asked Lexi if she was cool with that. And of course, I was friends with both of them. And she was like, yeah, I'm cool with Sean being here to make sure that the kid's okay, because Ogre was wanting to, he didn't want to have nothing. He knew that something screwed up was going to happen if he was there, and she was going to try to play it against him. So he was going to give her, the night to, hang out with Quilly, and I was supposed to hang out, and I did. I basically I ended up babysitting Quilly the whole rest of the night. Lexi Delgado was there, but she was otherwise preoccupied. The next day, she called and said that the previous day that Ogre had tried to lay his hands on her and some other story, I don't remember what it was, but the situation was just, it was foul and fucked up and didn't happen. But she wasn't accusing him of sexual assault or anything like that at that point. She was just, he got arrested, and they, I believe, did have to drop the charges. I mean, there was no crime that actually happened. It was his house. There was verified witnesses, and the police had been there. The police had already been there and spoken with all of the people in the household. As far as Quilly or Lexi being gone for 2.5 hours with, their daughter there alone in the house, a baby who's only a few months old, like, this is not an okay thing. But I didn't find out that whole situation until after the cops had already left. And at that point, I'm staying there. The situation with them being together for any sort of physical altercation going on, there was no time. Like, between her getting there and me getting there, it was just a matter of a couple of minutes, according to her. When I walked in the door, she said that she had just gotten there. And since then, the story has changed a couple times from her and also from Christopher Weaver, because it was a long time ago. I actually had to go back and check and reference that. Some of my stories that I tell, I realize that there's a story that needs to be told. And sometimes in the telling of it, I make a mistake. And so I try to correct it immediately. Like I did in the story before about Will, when I remembered that his daughter was very, very, very small. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she wasn't 12 or 13 at the time. I'm pretty sure, because I probably met Will in 2003, not 2009. And when that clicked, I was like, all right, so I told something that was incorrect, and I at least did my best to correct it. I try to do that every time, if I catch it. Also, the situation with Will's parents both dying while he was in prison, I remembered that he was saying that thing about his mom, that it was his dad who had died in prison, and that his mom had, she'd survived for a long time after that, and she'd actually helped Will out a few times financially. When he bought the last car that I was aware of that he bought, his mother had actually helped him to finance it so he could buy a decent car, because he was tired of buying lemons, paying for a whole bunch of insurance and licensing and all that, and then a month later, if that, he's pushing it off the side of the freeway and having to pay somebody to junk it for him. Anyway, we'll get back to Ogre. So his relationship with Cardboard is very dangerous. If she doesn't get what she wants right when she wants it, she's liable to say or do anything. So she takes her daughter, steals her daughter, and goes to, Fort Collins or Fort Morgan. And their daughter is out in the middle of the street. She's still a toddler, and she's in the middle of the street, running around in the most busy street in town, while Lexi Delgado is passed out off in the grass. She has started dating at this point a mutual friend of mine, Ogre's, and Cardboard's, whose name was, we knew him as Incredibly Gay Ryan. And it turned out he wasn't as gay as he was pretending to be, and I got the messages between him and I on that too. It was just a scam to try to meet women. Okay, so Ogre is pissed off because not only has his daughter now been put into the system, and he swore that was never going to happen with his kids, but also, he's got to get a protection order and a restraining order against Lexi Delgado because she's endangering their child and abducting their child. And, he was pissed off that they wouldn't put out an Amber Alert. That was the thing that pissed him off the most. Now then, of course, when he had been in that apartment in Longmont, he lost that apartment because he got arrested. Lexi didn't move out. Her and a whole string of dudes were in there tearing up the place, and he is held responsible for paying that. All of his stuff was lost. All of his paperwork, everything he owned was lost in that place. He was in jail. He couldn't do anything about it. So then we'll go a little bit down the road. Lexi Delgado isn't supposed to be anywhere near Ogre or their daughter. And he's trying to jump through hoops to make sure that he can keep his daughter, who he has sole custody of. And he didn't have somebody who could do the babysitting. And this is how I always get suckered into babysitting. I am against men in childcare for a reason. It is too easy for a crazy woman who doesn't get what she wants to pretend like you did something that you didn't do because she didn't want to pay you. So, of course, I didn't have to deal with that from Cardboard or from Lexi Delgado, but Christopher Weaver very soon would. So she came over and she was still lactating. And she was also bragging about how she could still lactate and a bunch of stuff like that. And of course, she comes over and she's not allowed to be there. And then Christopher Weaver gets there and tells her she needs to leave, but she won't. And he says, well, I'm just going to call the cops. You're not supposed to be here. You're not allowed to be anywhere near me. You're not allowed near our daughter. But she was insistent. She absolutely had to. It had to happen. So, of course, he's a dummy. He let her into the hotel room that he was staying at that point in time. He'd already lost his housing. He was living in a hotel room. And he was able to pay for the hotel room. But he did need a little bit of help financially. And he got that from his grandmother. Very sweet lady, according to him. And she continued to help to pay for a roof over his head from hotel to hotel to hotel in Boulder, by the way, for about 3 or 4 months. That entire time, Lexi Delgado and Christopher Weaver were telling me that they were going to pay me for child care. They never did end up paying me. Ogre was telling me that he was going to bring me a pack of cigarettes. Every day he'd tell me this. He'd tell me, I'll bring you back a pack of cigarettes. And I'd be there watching his kid and his dog, his kid and his dog, his kid and his dog, so he could go fuck around and sell weed and go to work. Like I said, it's damn near impossible to get off the streets on those starter positions. Like line cook is not exactly that well paying of a job. But he had that job and he worked it steady. And then Lexi Delgado, she stole their daughter again, a second time. And she took their daughter to the back porch of somebody's house where she had already been trespassed and told she's not allowed to be there. And she went there in a blizzard and sat there with almost a newborn baby. I mean, I think not literally. I mean, I think she was like 9 months or 10 months by that point. But I mean, still, it's a baby. There's a very valid reason for there to be a protection order in place there. This is a crazy woman who is stealing a baby from a good father and doing everything that her nutty heart's content to destroy any and all opportunities that him or their daughter could have had. This is where Jackie comes in. So Jackie, when their daughter gets taken the second time, and Jackie gets involved, and she's wanting to tell Christopher Weaver it's all his fault, and literally he's having to jump through hoops now. He's having to jump through a bunch of hoops to try to get his daughter back. And they're expensive, and he literally is having to go to so many expensive-ass appointments over and over and over again over all this legal crap that is not his fault and did not happen, but he's got to jump through it anyway. And this is where it gets real bad. Cardboard comes back again. Their daughter's not there anymore. She wants to hang out. She wants to show off that she can still lactate. I got my computer there, and I'm working on my computer. I'm trying to play a video game, but of course I'm computer stupid, so I'm having issues with it. Go figure. So of course, then she's trying to make Christopher Weaver jealous. She's not supposed to be anywhere near him. She just wants to pretend a bit, and of course get some revenge a bit, and of course tease him by trying to have sex with me, and she just wouldn't let up. And he's getting pissed off at her, but he's being as nice as he can, because like any man, he has to be afraid. First of all, if he calls the cops, he's not a real man. Second of all, if he calls the cops, he'll probably be the one arrested, even though she's the one that's not allowed to contact him. So, like, she tracked us down to multiple motels, by the way. Tracked us down to them after the protection orders. Cops wouldn't do shit. Abel Ramos, Christopher Weaver. You guys know how much I love Abel Ramos, but he's still a cop. He didn't like Christopher Weaver because, well, you got to feel sorry for Lexi Delgado. She's a crazy woman out on the streets. Well, what makes her crazy and what makes her batshit bonkers is her control bullshit. She'll play crazy, and then she'll play sane, and then she'll play crazy, and then she'll play sane, and it depends on which one benefits her at the time. Or which one she thinks benefits her. So Christopher Weaver, you know, the reason that he's actually having to go through all this stuff is because he pulled a stupid as a parent. It was legitimately his fault when he was no longer allowed to have access to his daughter because, well, he had all this bullshit. He was being forced into homelessness again, and he had a couple of drinks, and he had his daughter with him, and he was on Pearl Street. They arrested him, and they took his daughter. Now, there's a couple other people there that were witnesses to the situation. What they had said is that his babysitter dropped her off on Pearl Street while he had paid them already in advance so that he could go out and have one night of not complete and total craziness and fucking bullshit. And, he's a single parent. He's having to go to work, and he pays for a babysitter for when he's at work. He pays for child care for while he's at work, and he has to. The state was helping him with that because child care was more than he was making per hour. I don't know how to explain to you what that means. When they took her away, that broke his heart, and thank goodness for Jacqueline Weaver, because she did step in and ultimately prevent their daughter from being sold, as they often do in Boulder. They primarily, as far as the adoption agencies, especially the state adoption agencies go, they fetch a higher price for younger age and primarily female. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls under the age of 6 is their primary. Those are the ones they can get a lot of money for, and the younger they are, the more money. If it's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl under the age of 2, you can get up to $2.5 million that'll go directly to the state and also to your department. If you basically abduct a homeless person's kid or a poor person's kid that's got blonde hair and blue eyes in Boulder County or in Denver, the state allows this. I mean, one woman in Boulder, they sold both of her kids to a gay couple who owns a flower shop in Denver. The second one was for $800,000. How is that legal? By the way, that woman is also recorded on my YouTube channel. So let's get to Christopher Weaver's sexual assault. This is also Sean Schwartz's sexual assault. So Lexi Delgado has already gotten her daughter taken away by the state twice, and also gotten Christopher Weaver kicked out of his place because he was locked up. Was told he couldn't go back. I was told there was nothing I could do about it because I wasn't there. I'm like, I was there. She said she had just gotten there when I got there. Like, apparently there's this whole big long argument and abuse thing that had just happened, even though she had just gotten there a couple of minutes before I got there. And then there was supposedly another abuse thing that had happened later on down that night, which was also complete and total BS. This thing looks like it's freezing up on me. I hope not. Anyway, so Christopher Weaver, he's in his hotel room and he's trying to explain to Lexi that she's got to go. She can't be there. She's not allowed to be there, and he's going to call the cops. And she takes off her shirt and she's talking about how horny she is, and she's squirting me from like halfway across the room with breast milk. She's laying on her side on the bed, and then she's got no shirt on, and I'm on my computer. I'm trying to ignore her and not to look, and she's squirting me with milk. And Ogre goes outside to have a cigarette, and she comes over and jumps on me and starts trying to tickle me and try to grab my parts. And of course she breaks my computer on the way down. That was no fun whatsoever. I really hope this is still recording at least my sound, because it keeps freezing up on me. So I don't want this. I don't want to have sex with her in his hotel room when all of this stuff is coming down on top of his head. And God, like, he got screwed in the worst kind of way. And then he lost his job over it. He had to jump through a bunch of expensive hoops, and they were during hours that he needed to be at work, and he missed too many days. He called in and let him know that it was because he was court appointed to do this, he had to leave at this specific time to go do his UA if he was told he had to go do a UA. He was making sure that he wasn't drinking and wasn't smoking pot and wasn't doing nothing evil or wrong, and he was jumping through all the hoops that they told him to and paying the money for all these alcohol classes that he needed to pay for, and also the domestic violence classes that he didn't actually need. And so this woman who is the cause of all this in this room, she's trying to have sex with me while he's having a cigarette. I didn't have anywhere else to go. He comes in and he tells her to get off of me and to leave me alone, that is not okay, that I obviously didn't want it. She was obviously assaulting me in a way that I was not comfortable with, and I had said loud and clear, stop, and he said something extremely loud that you don't forget. When he says at the top of his, well, just below screaming, actually. It was just below screaming. He didn't actually do it at the top of his lungs. He said, no means no. So then she started in on the, oh, well, she needs a massage. She forgot about me, and all of a sudden, since he talked down to her like she was a dog because she was acting like a dog in heat, well, now she's attracted to him and she doesn't want to make him jealous anymore. She just has to have a back rub. Just has to have a back rub. Has to have a back rub. And she's not leaving. She refuses to put her shirt on. He gives her the back rub, and then, of course, she's telling him that she needs his male genitalia. So he tells me that he's gonna do something that he shouldn't be doing with somebody who he's not legally even allowed to be around, and she's not legally allowed to be around him. And, you know, I go stand outside of the hotel room. This is on Table Mesa in Boulder, Colorado. This is our third or fourth motel at that point. Third. The fourth one was up by the Boulder shelter. That was the last one. That was when he finally realized that for jumping through all the hoops to keep his daughter, he had expended all of the resources that he needed to fulfill the obligations the state required for him to keep his daughter. He had lost everything. Anyway, the situation with her trying to get him to have sex with her with the whole back massage thing, she had to have it. Had to have the back massage. And then she was very blatant about how, well, she was literally telling him that he has to have sex with her. And by that point, he was hot and bothered too, because she'd been, we'll not get into that. Moral of the story is, don't have sex with crazy people. So she has sex with him. I'm just right outside. There's a dog run. You know, she's saying all sorts of crazy stuff like to him, like choke me and stuff like that. And, you know, he told her no on that. He wasn't going to do that. He wasn't going to fall for anything like that. But he had sex with her. That for surely did happen. And afterwards, she left. She started a fight with him on the way out, though, like a really, really super loud fight, loud enough that like she missed the manager that came down and talked to him and I by like 2 minutes. It was loud. She was just mean, and for no reason. So she went down to Pearl Street and she told everybody that Christopher Weaver raped her. She didn't mention me at all. She just forgot I existed, which is strange. So then people are telling me that they're going to take Ogre up the mountain with a bottle because of what Lexi Delgado said. And she told Officer Ramos this, and Officer Ramos became an extreme dick to him. Yeah, Officer Ramos loses about 100 points of dignity just in that one encounter and maneuver. He should have asked me, and when I tried to tell him, he was too busy. He told me he was too busy doing paperwork. The only reason that Ogre was not taking up the mountain with a bottle to be executed as a rapist is because I was there, because I told the truth, because I was an honest, righteous, and just man, and because my words and my reputation meant something. I was able to help people that nobody else could because of that reputation. Good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. And remember, you are your brother's keeper. No victim left behind. Yes, absolutely Ogre, aka Christopher Weaver, was the victim of sexual assault that day, and so was I.